2020 was going to be nuts and crazy, but we didn't realize how much.
Well, yes, we couldn't necessarily give you too much information or we would have caused a panic.
Yeah, yeah, well, there's a lot of panic now. But I wanted to ask about the virus specifically. Was it bioengineered or was it just a natural occurrence?
Natural occurrence. It is the result of the destruction of various ecosystems on your planet that allow the virus that would naturally be contained in that ecosystem to spread farther than it normally would and find new hosts, because many of its own hosts, which would be the animals in the ecosystem, have been eliminated through the destruction of the ecosystem. Therefore, viruses will then seek out new niches to inhabit, which will now include humanity.
So what's the solution to this? Because a lot of people like Bill Gates have been talking about vaccinating the planet, which there's quite a lot of us who don't agree with that. So what is the solution?
Well, we cannot necessarily tell you which way to go. We will have to leave that up to you and your own choices. But obviously, since we are talking about the destruction of certain ecological systems, one solution would be the restoration of those systems rather than the continued destruction on your planet. Also, the reduction of fear-based belief systems, negative energy that is causing stress around your world since 2016 has diminished the immune system of most people on your planet by being put in exceedingly stressful situations of uncertainty, and therefore a rebalancing of the energy and an outputting of more positive energy would also be of some assistance to the collective consciousness so that the immune system will not be compromised in the way that it has been for the past several years.
So some people have been using vitamin C and quinine and things like that too.
I cannot discuss specific remedies that go into health issues because we are not allowed to discuss health issues in the physical sense of giving you cures.
Okay.
Now, as we have said previously, however, you can always begin with information we have already delivered on that subject, which means make sure that you are detoxified as much as you possibly can, so that at the very least, the nutrients that you do manage to put in your bodies will actually take hold in the cellular structure and allow your body to repair itself as best as it possibly can in the circumstances and strengthen your immune system. So detoxification of the pollutants that exist in your society that then get lodged in your cellular structures and prevent nutrients from being absorbed would be the first step, so that whatever you do intake will remain in your cellular structure, will be able to even get into your cellular structure by being as thoroughly detoxified as you possibly can be. That's all we are allowed to say about the idea of any particular physiological remedying that may go on in your system. Other than that, we cannot advise for the idea of health issues with respect to remedies and cures.
Okay, thank you for that. And in terms of like the Sasani Collective, you know, I mean, and the civilizations you're aware of watching this, but it feels like we're in some sort of reality TV show. So
in a sense, you are.
Yeah, let's call it Earth 2020. So what do they make of this virus episode that could you ask the collective?
As we have already said, we recognize that you are going through what we call the eye of the needle. It is an important time of compression. The fact that you have created a situation where you are isolating yourselves, sequestering yourselves, distancing yourselves, gives you a sparkling opportunity to go within, to reassess your belief systems, to strip away those that don't serve you, so that you may in fact be capable of more effortlessly passing through what we call the eye of the needle to the other side. This is the midpoint. This is the crossing point. This is why we said 2020 was a very pivotal year in terms of what it is that is potentially possible and probable for you to experience on the other side of this. So it is an opportunity for you to strip away those things that are not you. Let go, let go, let go of the past ideas. Learn from them, but don't anchor to them. Don't repeat the ideas of what you used to be, but instead allow yourselves, as we said, to be informed by your future selves so that you can be guided effortlessly through this very, very narrow eye of the needle, which will not allow things that are not you to pass easily through it. So streamlining yourselves down by letting go of those belief systems that do not serve you and adopting only those ones that are true for you will be the whole point of what's going on in the center of this transformational period, passing through the eye of the needle.
Well, thank you for that. And when do you see this virus ending?
As long as it has already been going on in your general awareness, about 3.5 months of your time will be the amount of time on the other side of this particular point as well, before you will find yourselves going into a state where you feel that things are settling down somewhat. This doesn't mean that it may not reoccur, but the idea is that this passage is about half a year long, and you are in the middle of it.
Okay. And I feel kind of like when you said 2020 was going to be crazy, I feel like there's a lot more to come. And
there will be, but again, how you experience it depends upon what it is you let go of, so that when you get on the other side of the eye of the needle, the other side of that passage, you'll be able to handle whatever it is that does crop up from that point forward in a much more effective and positive way.
Would one of the things that may come up be as you read the energy now, would it be like a prelude to maybe President Trump announcing without a doubt that we're in contact with extraterrestrial?
We cannot make this prediction.
Okay, thank you for that. The other thing I wanted to ask was, in terms of the actual name of it, coronavirus, obviously corona means crown. So is this in any way linked?
Corona means halo.
Halo, sorry.
Like the halo, the corona of the sun.
Yes.
It is named that way because of the halo of protrusions around the virus.
Ah, right, okay. So in terms of the people who are, say, I'm experiencing a lot of different realities all at once at the moment. Sometimes it feels like it's fake, all this. Sometimes it feels very real.
Yes.
Sometimes it's in the middle.
Yes.
Is that because of all the parallel realities converging?
Yes. This is the time, and we will be in an upcoming transmission talking more specifically about this idea of the converging parallel realities in a transmission soon called the Parallel Reality Wheel, to give you more understanding and conscious awareness and efficacy in working with all of the different overlapping parallel reality versions of Earth you are now experiencing in this transitional period. Yes.
And in terms of the human trafficking that Donald Trump's trying to eradicate now, is that partly linked to...
We cannot comment on your political situation to that degree.
Okay. In terms of the hybrid children, is there anything they can do for us to help us, or is anything...
They are doing everything that they possibly can. Please, all of you, understand this very important point. We are all doing everything that can already be done. We are giving you all the assistance we can possibly be allowed to give you. You don't have to ask for more than you're being given. You simply have to become more aware of what it is you're already getting.
Right. It feels like there's a huge awakening taking place.
There is.
Is that the whole point of this?
It is the whole point. Becoming more of yourself through this transformation. How you do it is up to you, but we would strongly encourage you, as we always have, to let go of those things that are not you, those fear-based beliefs, to streamline yourself so that any transformation and any transitional passage can be experienced in the most effortless way. It's about discovering yourself from a new point of view.
Thank you. There's a lot of fear coming from the media, and they're constantly feeding it. So what would be some good solutions to overcome that?
As we have already said, let go of the idea of matching the frequencies of fear-based belief systems. Recognize through your own honest self-investigation and discernment what is and isn't relevant for the reality that you prefer. You have the ability to choose. Make a decision. What do you expect a reality in terms of what we prefer coming out of the other side of this? What can we expect to see? Because it will still take time. It will still take time. But this is the opportunity to practice knowing how to live in the reality you prefer through the actions that you take that would be representative of the actions you would be taking if you already lived in that reality. So it's about people allowing themselves to let their behavior be more truly reflective and representative of the reality they prefer to live in, so that they can navigate themselves through the different parallel realities to one that is more reflective and representative of the actions they are taking.
Right. Yeah, I've noticed this, that I've been quite excited in some ways through all this and observing. I've not been really entering the fear really, and I've just felt like I've been observing it.
A neutral place is a good place to be, for then you are in the balance point and can make decisions more clearly by not allowing yourself to necessarily succumb to the vibrations you don't prefer, recognizing more clearly, more consciously what is going on and making the decisions that are apropos for the person you prefer to be, recognizing that those that don't match belong to another reality that you don't live in.
Yes. And in 2016, when you're in the State of the Union seminar, when your father passed on the prediction about there being in the next 4 years from then a terrorist attack on a global level, is this in any way linked to that? Because he also mentioned an economic collapse soon after that.
It is somewhat connected, but again, we will not make predictions at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And say hello to my hybrid kids.
You may do so as well.
Thank you. Shivai.
Ha'atu. Absolutely. You can always rely on us.
The first question is around death.
Yes.
Yes, so I understand what you've taught us about each slice of reality and that we're just moving from slice to slice.
Yes.
But I'm just really curious about what that slice of reality is when we transition. What is that next reality? And what kind of dimension it is? And do we continue being the entity as we know of ourselves here?
No.
No.
No, you are more than what you are as a physical personality. You will retain that quality, you'll retain that experience, you'll retain that information, but you will be more than that in much the same way that you retain the experience and information you picked up in going through earlier grades of school, but you are beyond that now. You are more than that now. You are an adult as opposed to a child, even though the child still exists within your experience of yourself. You don't define yourself as only being the child anymore. So similarly, when you expand back into the idea of your spirit self, it's like growing up and retaining your childhood experiences and memories and understandings of what you've learned, but you are more than that and see things from a higher point of view, a broader perspective that allows you to utilize the experience in a more expanded way. Remember that it's still you overall, it's always happening to you, but you will recognize yourself as more than you thought yourself to be here in physical reality, just as you now think of yourself as more than the child you used to be.
And so when the transition, once we transition to the other dimension, it could also be a physical or a non-physical or a semi-physical.
Well, physicality only goes so far in terms of dimensionality. You are shifting from third density to fourth density, and that is all within the idea of the fourth dimensional reality of space and time. But when you actually transition to a higher frequency than that, into fifth density and into the spirit realm and higher forms of vibration, you actually are crossing the threshold from one dimension, the fourth dimension of space and time, into the fifth dimension of non-physical reality. Therefore, you will experience things in a very different way. Time and space will be much more malleable and flexible and not as rigid or crystallized as you experience it to be in physical reality, which does have a border to it, and it ends at the edge of the fourth dimension, which is also fourth density, which is what you're transitioning into now, a higher state of physical reality. But beyond that, you have to go into non-physical reality, or at least not physical reality as you understand it now in your space-time matrix.
Yes. But does one go there and then decide to actually enter fourth density again? Is it possible?
You can create that experience, but remember, everything exists all at once. So you're just creating an experience of going back into fourth density, but all that actually is a shift of perspective, because that reality already exists. That experience, in a sense, is already set up as a structure, but you can have the decision and make the choice as to whether you want to focus on that particular experiential structure, or whether you wish to focus on something different. Because all of those options are available to you at the same time.
And so are the higher dimensions even, right?
Yes, of course.
8, 9, 10. So they're all there, but
they're all here and now.
They're all here.
Yes.
But somehow, from where I have chosen to be in this dimension, the next transition is to the 5th and not to the 10th, for example.
Well, again, you may cross a threshold from the 4th to the 5th just to give yourself a sense of transition from this particular experience. But in the idea of stepping across that threshold, you will also automatically be given the opportunity to go to the 10th if you wish.
Whoa. And does that transition or the result of the transition somehow is affected by how I've lived this life, how I've experienced this life, just like how I am now based on how I've lived my childhood?
In some sense, yes, but in this day and age, you have much more awareness as a society that you do have the freedom to choose, whereas past societies may not have known that as clearly, and then may have had things happen seemingly automatically that were still choices, but they may have not necessarily been absolutely conscious choices to experience certain things, or they may not have been as aware of all the choices they had in the way that all of you are now because of your exploration of spirituality and consciousness. So it may be a little bit easier for you to be aware of the choices you have in this day and age than used to be true of past eras on your planet historically.
Yes, got it. So my second question is based on something you've told us about how there are lots of spaceships around and sometimes they just shift their frequency so that we can't see them.
Yes.
So is that frequency just beyond the frequency that our eyes can see? Sometimes
it's such a high frequency that you will not necessarily see them, even if you shifted to the frequency above your physical reality. It just depends on what they're doing and where they are at in that frequency spectrum.
Right. And so those that are doing whatever frequencies are changing whatever frequencies, they are able to see. So they have the ability to see at the frequency.
Maybe and maybe not. Remember, the idea of the shifting of frequencies isn't always an intentional thing. It may just be par for the course of what they're doing. Therefore, they may shift their frequency automatically to do what it is they're focused on doing and may have absolutely no awareness of you.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't need to.
Sure.
So I'm not saying that's always the case. It simply may be in the same way that you may be driving a car and passing through a neighborhood, and you don't necessarily have to be aware of who are in the houses that you're passing just to get where you're going.
Yes, exactly what I thought. Great. Thank you. So a few years ago when I met you for a session, you mentioned that I asked if I had hybrid children, and you mentioned that I am myself a multidimensionally nested hybrid being acting as a probe.
Yes.
Another version of myself that is a hybrid being.
Yes.
Of the Yael. And
yes, this is common for many of you.
Yes. And you mentioned that she might decide or not to come. And I'm wondering if at this point the decision has been made and if we will meet.
The probability has increased, but it is not finalized. Let's just say right now it's above 80%.
That she'll come, but
yes,
the percentage that will meet.
Again, above 80%.
Oof, yay. Great. So last question. This virus, coronavirus situation that we have here, has it accelerated open contact? And if it has, at this point, reading the energy, what is the likelihood of the year that it will happen?
You are passing through the eye of the needle, as we have called it, and it completely depends on what you do with this time of passage as to whether or not you will experience an acceleration or a deceleration of the idea of contact.
Okay. So at the same time, I'm feeling, during this time, as you call it, the eye of the needle, I'm feeling some cellular level body changes at night when I'm sleeping. Is that?
Yes. It's par for the course because you have to let go and strip yourselves free of anything now, more importantly than ever before, that simply does not resonate with your vibrational compatibility in order to be able to pass effortlessly through the eye of the needle.
Yes, thank you. I really feel that. I'm so happy that you have...
It is our passion and our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Good day.
To you too.